Dave Rennie in the case for loosening all black selection rules since 2026, and the conversation around all black selection policy is back in the spotlight. Dave Rennie, the newest head coach of New Zealand, is pushing for a long overdue evolution in how the team selects players. At the heart of his argument is a simple principle. In a modern, global game, players should be able to earn a living abroad while still being eligible to represent their country. Historically, New Zealand Rugby has enforced strict domestic-only selection policies. England, Australia, and other major unions have had similar restrictions, although some are starting to adapt. Australia, for example, only relaxed their overseas selection rules under Joe Schmidt last year. England remains more rigid. Jack Willis, for instance, is overlooked despite being arguably one of the world's best back rowers, simply because he now plays for Toulouse. For the All Blacks, Rennie's first statements as head coach made his stance clear. Brodie Retallick is fitter than he's ever been, he said. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but there's no doubt you want to win a World Cup. Ideally, you've got your best players available. Rennie isn't asking for rocket science. He wants access to the most experienced, capable players, regardless of where they play. His argument is also grounded in precedent that learning from the Springboks offer a compelling model. Ahead of the 2019 Rugby World Cup, Rassie Erasmus replaced Alistair Coetzee as head coach and was given carte blanche to select overseas-based players. He recalled Cheslin Kolbe and Faf de Klerk, both playing abroad, and built a World Cup-winning team that included 7 overseas-based players in the Matchday 23. 3 of those had over 50 test caps. Experience mattered. Players like Franz Stein, Francois Lou, and Willie Leroux brought nearly 200 caps between them. In comparison, the All Blacks could match that level of expertise with veterans such as Sam Cane and Brodie Retallick. The lesson is clear. Restricting selection to domestic players may be convenient for unions, but it limits opportunities to leverage global experience, particularly for high-stakes competitions like the World Cup. That the benefits of loosening restrictions, allowing players to compete abroad while remaining eligible for the All Blacks, comes with several advantages. 1. Widening the selection pool. Coaches can draw on more experienced, battle-tested players who have seen different tactical systems and styles. Jordie Barrett's time with Leinster, for example, enhanced his game and kept him among New Zealand's top performers despite missing parts of Super Rugby. 2. Exposure to innovation. Rennie emphasizes that the game is no longer purely a New Zealand domain. There's been massive strides made up north, he said. We take for granted that all innovation comes from New Zealand. It doesn't. Players abroad gain exposure to new techniques, strategies, and training methods that can benefit the national team. 3. Rewarding loyalty. Players like Brodie Retallick have served New Zealand for over a decade, with more than 100 tests, a Rugby World Cup, and hundreds of Super Rugby appearances. Allowing them to finish their careers abroad while remaining All Blacks eligible recognizes their service without penalizing them financially. 4. Player welfare and development. Overseas stints often involve less physically demanding competitions, such as Japan's top league, or fewer games in Super Rugby. This can prolong careers, reduce burnout, and allow younger domestic players, like Tupou Vaa'i, to step into leadership roles at home. 5. Financial sustainability. New Zealand clubs and the national union can reinvest salary savings into development pathways or retain younger talent, while veterans pursue overseas opportunities. The challenges despite the benefits. There are logistical hurdles. Availability. Clubs abroad are obligated to release players only during official World Rugby windows. Any additional tests require negotiation, and Northern Hemisphere players often arrive late in the domestic season. However, experienced internationals may require minimal in-person alignment, and technology enables virtual preparation. Player load and minutes management. Clubs control playing time, which could affect conditioning and form. Yet, with modern training and global standards, managing workload is far easier than in previous eras. Fear of a talent exodus. Critics worry that loosening rules could trigger a mass departure of New Zealand players. South Africa saw such a trend after the 2019 World Cup. Clear criteria, such as minimum Super Rugby or test caps, could prevent premature moves while still allowing veterans to benefit. Union control and cohesion. There's always a concern about disrupting domestic systems. However, exposure to international tactics can strengthen the All Blacks' adaptability rather than weaken it. Global examples in Trend South Africa has shown that overseas-based selection can succeed without undermining domestic rugby. Japanese in European competitions now limit the number of internationally capped players, promoting academy development while maintaining competitive balance. Clubs are also increasingly mindful of burnout, aligning with player welfare. Rennie's experience abroad, particularly with Glasgow Warriors, underscores the mutual benefits. If coaches can learn from overseas stints, so can players. Rassie Erasmus has repeatedly leveraged insights from Munster, using it to strengthen the Springboks. Eddie Jones also weighs in, highlighting the advantage South Africa gains from overseas-based players like Malcolm Marx. For the best players, they get plenty of touches, practice, they have a good lifestyle, they don't have to do media or endorsements, and they get well paid. Their wives are happy, families are happy, and they come back refreshed. The case for change Rennie's push isn't revolutionary, it's pragmatic. The modern game is global, and restricting player movement is increasingly outdated. Allowing stars like Retallick to continue representing the All Blacks while playing abroad aligns incentives for player welfare, financial security, and team success. This approach also strengthens New Zealand Rugby in the long term. It creates a more adaptable, experienced squad, encourages young talent to step up domestically, and avoids punishing players who have already dedicated years of service. Even Artie Savia, a vocal critic of restrictive selection, has called for change. "My thing is if you're Kiwi and you're playing across the world, you should be allowed to," he said. "It should evolve so that players can play somewhere else and still be available." Conclusion: New Zealand Rugby faces a choice: cling to tradition or embrace the realities of a global game. Rennie's message is clear. The best chance to win a Rugby World Cup comes from selecting the best players, regardless of where they play. Veterans like Brodie Retallick have proven their worth on the international stage, and keeping them in the fold, even while earning abroad, is not just logical. It's essential. With other nations already demonstrating the success of this approach, the All Blacks risk falling behind if they fail to modernize. In 2026, it's no longer enough to rely solely on domestic Super Rugby stars. Adaptation, experience, and global exposure are the keys to staying at the pinnacle of world rugby.